Hi, welcome to Inspire TV. I'm your host, SharonZehavi, and with me today is Helen Hirsh Spence. How are you, Helen?
I'm good, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad to have you. So, with Inspire TV, we find inspiring people with inspiring stories. So, how would you tell me a little bit about your story?
Well, it's a long story, but I won't tell you all of it by any means. I imagine that you're referring to the business that I started in my late 60s, which is called Top 60 Over 60. And the reason I started it was because I was tired of hearing all about top 40 under 40, top 30 under 30, when we have an aging population worldwide and we need to have role models who are older. And we have nothing that celebrates older adults. So that is the latest installment of my life. But prior to that, I was an educator. I was a high school principal and a head of a girls' school. And so I really shifted gears in my 60s.
So, you started this business when you were 67, right?
That's right, yeah.
And what it is that you're trying to actually, what's kind of message you're trying to put out there?
Well, I mean, the reason I started it, just mentioned, but more importantly, it's because I'm so aware of ageism and how it's structural and it's built in, and because it's the only ism or discriminatory practice that continues to be socially acceptable, it's unchallenged, and it's unnoticed for the most part. And so most people are totally unaware of the fact that they themselves are perpetuating ageist myths, and ageism is, something that is damaging not only to individuals, but to society and to our economy as well. So it's so widespread, and it's hugely problematic, and it's so bad that the Global Health Organization has deemed it a global health epidemic.
Really?
Yeah.
So what is the misperception? Do you think that most people think that just like the younger the better, or that from some specific age it's just too old, or what is the misperception?
Well, there's a lot of misunderstandings about aging. I mean, I think mostly the whole narrative around aging is one that is negative. It's about vulnerability, about losing independence, about cognitive decline. And those are all not real truths about what it means to age. In fact, we have a different type of intelligence as we get older, and our brains process information a bit more slowly, but we have crystallized intelligence. We have better emotional regulation when we get older. We have better judgment. Life experience contributes increasingly as we get older. Wisdom. There are so many benefits to aging, but we always focus on the 2% that are perhaps in senior residences or long-term care, and those that are not doing well cognitively with dementia. And that, again, is a small percentage of the population, but that is what the stories are all about.
Right, and I would say that anybody who's thinking about somebody in retirement residence, we're talking about somebody who's in their 80s, but I feel like ageism is something that people in their 50s that they suffer from.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there are all different types of ageism. I mean, there's what I refer to, what's known as internalized or self-directed ageism, and that's what I began to feel in my mid-60s. And that is just the feeling that you lose your confidence. I mean, here I was a leader in a number of different institutions. I was very active doing not-for-profit work across the world, and then suddenly in my mid-60s, I felt like I was becoming invisible and irrelevant. And so I did research, and I was exposed through a former student to social innovation, and I took courses in social entrepreneurship, and I did a lot of research on aging and realized that what I was suffering from was internalized ageism. So I wanted, one, to raise awareness about that, but also then I looked further and I saw, gendered ageism is a huge issue. So that's a combination of sexism and ageism.
Perfect.
Yeah, and so women are affected at a much younger age than men, and they have, much more difficulty finding work when they're older, if they're let go or if they choose to leave the workforce and come back. And women are traditionally the ones who took care of children and who were in their houses, until the children left. And so very often they're women in their 50s who are finally able to use the skills or the experience that they learned about, but now that they can actually use it, and they want to become entrepreneurs or they want to find work. So there's gendered ageism, then there's elder speak, the way in which we treat older people in residences and homes and so on, nurses. And it's not necessarily intended to be negative, but it takes away the confidence of the people when I'm spoken to as an infant, like, is your tummy talking, Sharon?
Oh my gosh.
So
I can't believe anybody talks to you like this.
They don't talk to me like that because I wouldn't let them. But I'm
Right.
just saying, if in fact, so I'll call it, and that's, one of the messages, people need to start recognizing what it looks like. And employers in particular need to understand that there are so many age myths out there that they're harming themselves when they are not considering hiring older adults or trying to retain those people who are in the workforce who really don't necessarily want to leave, but they want a different circumstance within the workforce. So I work with organizations, corporations, businesses, to help them understand about longevity today, because we have 20 to 30 additional years that our grandparents didn't have, and the fact that we need to work longer, we want to work longer. Retirement is a notion of the past.
So let me ask you this. You said you work with corporations.
Yeah.
You feel like they're definitely missing out
Definitely.
on the older generation and what they can offer. So what would you recommend to be the first step that they can take, and how can they contact you if they wish to do so?
Well, the first thing that they need to do is become aware of what it is and what it looks like and what it feels like from the person's perspective. And so for that reason, I do a lot of conferences and speak at keynotes, and I have a TEDx talk that I just did. And, I'm invited to speak or else just to leadership teams to help them understand what's going on. I've been invited to speak to employee resource groups in big banks, just so that they get a sense of what age bias is, and then they can help educate themselves and then the others about, how to overcome it. It's not hard. Really, the first step is just being aware of it. So if you were to say to me something, and then you said, "Oh, I'm having a senior's moment," I would say to you, Sharon, first of all, that's not what's happening. You're not having a senior's moment, but very many people will make those kind of references and say, "Oh, I'm too old to do that. I'm over the hill," or whatever.
Right.
All of those things are self-negating
So it all
perceptions.
comes from this education and have an awareness. So that makes sense. And if anybody wants to work with you or contact you to do a workshop, where should they go?
They should probably get in touch with me I have a website, top60over60.com, all written out, and there's a part there where they can contact me. So it's just Helen at top60over60.com. That's one way that they can get in touch. And
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here today. I loved everything you had to say, and I thought it was very educational, which is one of the first steps. And thank you so much for watching us.